President Trump is shedding light on why his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein fell apart.
Trump says that Epstein took women who were working at his Mar-A-Lago spa, despite Trump telling him not to. Here is the president on Air Force One discussing the matter.
And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Trump also told reporters that some of these women whom Epstein allegedly took were young and mostly spa workers. Porter then asked the president whether one of those women was Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre was one of the most prominent Epstein accusers who unfortunately died by suicide in April. Here's Trump responding to the Giuffre question.
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
In regards to Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former accomplice, she has offered to testify to Congress if she were granted immunity. The House Oversight Committee rejected that request, however, and Trump has said that he has the power to pardon Maxwell, but he claims he has not considered it.
So this made a lot of headlines yesterday. However, if you've been following the Epstein story closely, I believe this was already known, or it was at least already known that she worked at Mar-A-Lago. Maybe this is the first time Trump has acknowledged that she didn't just that she was poached effectively by Epstein. So this was in, I believe it was in 2000 or thereabouts. She had been, I was looking more into her history. She was a young girl. She was estranged from her family for a period of time. And then I think her dad was working at Mar-A-Lago, was working in the vicinity, and she had come back to live with him. And I believe it worked that he got her a job there. She was about 17. So remember, her accusations are not from when she was, they're accusations of forcible sexual misconduct or kind of forcing it on her that she should provide sexual massages to business people and people on Epstein's behalf. She was not, I don't think, underage at the time. She was, I think, 17. And then, I mean, it's an icky age range to be clear, but I think her accusations were not of it was just a forcible.
She was recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell, or she says she was recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell from Mar-A-Lago, I believe.
Yes. So Trump's saying that he told Epstein that caused the falling out between them, which is kind of interesting. That stop taking our people, and then he did it anyway, and that she was one of the people. So then she goes and works for Epstein, doing spas, massages, sexual massages for Epstein and others. And then he sends her, I believe, abroad to some massage school type thing and then she doesn't come back from that. She escapes that way. She meets someone really quickly, gets married, I believe lives in Australia for a number of years, has kids, and has nothing to do with them. And then years later, when the authorities in the U.S. start looking into Epstein based on a tip from a different family of an underage girl, they get in contact with her. And Ghislaine Maxwell calls her and says, have you been talking to the authorities? Don't talk to the authorities. And that was like the first contact they'd had in years. Right.
And then she did become very prominent globally, not only because she came forward, but because it's her who's in the famous photograph with Prince Andrew of Britain. And then he, of course, was asked about that, and he made this sort of vague suggestion that it may have been a doctored photo, which I don't think, frankly, persuaded anybody, really. And he ultimately settled the case, settled legal action for an undisclosed but presumably very large amount of money.
Did you get Kate Middleton to do the Photoshop?
Oh, man.
Remember that photo? That was not a real photo.
I don't. It's all kind of fairly creepy stuff. In relation to the politics of it, I'm just somewhat surprised that Trump keeps talking about it, because he keeps giving fresh fuel to a story that I think we both agree does not do him any good.
I mean, I'm glad he was forthright there. He was asked a question, he answered. He said, yes, to the best I recall, it was 25 years ago, so forgive not remembering exactly what the timeline was, but he acknowledged she worked. Obviously, she did not made complaints against a number of prominent people. She recanted some of them. She said that Alan Dershowitz was among her abusers, an attorney for Jeffrey Epstein, who's a well-known commentator. We've had him on Rising before. We've interviewed him aggressively on Rising about those accusations. She recanted those. She never said anything about her time at Mar-A-Lago or about Donald Trump, so maybe he felt there's no reason to withhold any information about it. The Epstein issue, yes, does keep coming up. He's peppered with questions about it, and will continue to be because of the unhappiness with the base and the MAGA influencers from not getting what they want.
Yeah, you said, excuse me, you said correctly that we knew that Virginia Giuffre had been recruited from Mar-A-Lago. That is true. That's not new information. I think in terms of the Trump politics side of the story, it's the fact that this is a new explanation for why he and Epstein fell out in the first place. Prior to the past couple of days, there'd been basically two versions of that put forward. One was that they'd had a falling out over pursuing a particular piece of real estate, which I think Trump had won, and that had apparently alienated them from each other. The other one was that Epstein had engaged in some kind of inappropriate behavior
at Mar-A-Lago
that had come to Trump's attention. One of the comms people at the White House claimed that, well, the reason they fell out was that Trump realized Epstein was being a creep. That seems to be changing now, or this seems to be a different version of that, where Trump's actual objection is Epstein sort of stealing his employees away. I just think that those shifting explanations really do keep raising more questions about, well, what exactly is going on here in the middle of a kind of suspicious story for Trump overall.
Yeah, that's true. This one has the ring of truth to it because it actually fits a fact. Like, we know she did work there, and we know she was recruited by Epstein to move to him. So there's a little bit more to establish that would be the reason, and also the way he was asked about. He didn't. I don't know. The way he was asked about it and the way he gave that answer seems plausible to me. So I accept that's what it is.
But if that's what it is, then the question is, well, why did they not just say that at the start? Why were they engaged in sort of promulgating these different explanations?
Yeah, the administration, the way they're handling the Epstein issue is just really, really bad at this point. People will study this later and go like, well, how did you let yourselves become so mired in answering these kinds of... Nobody wants to be stuck talking about Epstein, but they set themselves up for it because they overpromised and underdelivered. It's a textbook case of that. We've been talking about that, a lot, and it's impacting things. Joe Rogan has been furious about it. We're going to actually do a segment on that a little bit later in the show. So these questions are going to keep being asked until they cough up something that makes the base happy, or until they pound it out of the base that they're going to ask questions about this. The way maybe they did with like January 6th or something.
Right, and it doesn't say, the pressure may cool slightly because the House of Representatives and the building across from us is in recess now, but Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna are in this bipartisan push to actually force more information up. So by the time the House comes back in September, that may heat up again. In other news, another country could recognise an independent Palestinian state. Will this put any pressure toward a ceasefire agreement? We'll talk about that right after the break. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us on Rising.